There's that funky side guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday, live at 5. Evil Hippie Network, YouTube. Check us out, subscribe, type in iNewsWire, Roy Blecker. You'll see my nice, smiling, shining face. Of course, we'll join the Mighty Met KMET 1490, as we usually do, at the bottom of the hour. Fraud busting out all over this place, in California especially. Who would have ever thought that? My word. Get to the California teachers crying poverty, Trump opening up the oil flow in California finally after 30 years of devastating consequences. $8 heading to $10 a gallon gas here in the good old CA. Holy bejesus, the Roy plan is working. We'll get into some of the latest of that, the top 2 in June. Every day gets closer to fruition. That and Governor Gavin Newsom's lying in the taxes and much, much more. But as our lead story of the day, Rowdy Bush, Kurt Busch, 7 years ago, won his 200th NASCAR race. That's combined trucks, O'Reilly Auto Parts and NASCAR, Monster Energy or whatever they're calling it now, Cup. You get these names all confused. Heck, I can't even keep up with them anymore. Why can't we just have Winston Cup? Get the cigarette advertising back in. Tobacco. Beer. All that good stuff that we've lost. But 7 years ago, that was the last race. Well, it was the last weekend, or I think one more before COVID came in and destroyed everything. And what we've had a couple more races in an Auto Club Speedway is now no longer. So who knows? Well, I guess we're getting a street race in San Diego, but might be the end of big time racing, at least NASCAR wise, in California. Want to get into the Nick Shirley investigations, and James O'Keefe dropped a bombshell today. Nick Shirley yesterday afternoon. Bill O'Saley put it up there. As you see, TikTok, we're coming for fraud in California. Yes, there will be more arrests. You can read about some of the cases we've already charged here, some of the ones O'Saley has already made arrests on. But Nick Shirley headed into California. Amy Reichert and Lori Mills were with him down in San Diego and LA respectively, and some others. This is the sound. This is the sound, as we say, of hospice money. Here we go.
This is the sound of hospice money. Could you just answer the question, what's the need for 1,000% increase in hospice care here inside of LA? Do you have the paperwork to enroll a little boy by the name of Joey?
You don't know what's going on?
Well, it says there's 14 children enrolled here on the state of California. That there is $6,000 per...
I got to get back to that one again. That one was classic. I'm here. You know a kid named Joey? He's supposed to be registered here. 1,000% increase in hospice care. You know a kid named Joey? Huh? Who? That's probably the daycare one. Daycare fraud, hospice fraud. The main industry in California seems to be fraud. No speak English. Man, what a deal.
It says there's 14 children enrolled here on the state of California. That there is $6,000 per benefit.
Look how that slam of the security door. $6,000 per beneficiary? Beneficiary?
Can you give us any explanation? Where can we open a hospice at? Get the Maybach just like you.
California may have the largest amount of fraud in the country, as California is the state with the highest taxes.
Let's cut out the may. California has the largest amount of fraud in the nation by far. Not even close. As they say, we're going to make Minnesota look like a bunch of frickin' pikers.
And collects more money than any other state in America. It is filled with fraud. California's version of Medicaid, called Medi-Cal, has more than doubled since 2022 from $108 billion to a proposed $222 billion in 2026. Their population, however, has not grown exponentially. However, their population, however, has two from $108 billion to a proposed $222 billion in 2026.
So this is how we're getting screwed all over the place on this. Of course, we only have a $349 billion budget, $222 billion of that. So I would say half of that $222 billion we're going to spend next year in Medi-Cal is coming from you and the other 49 states. So you're kicking in $100 billion in the fraud. How could Medi-Cal cost more than double in 4 freaking years? You talk about unsustainability? There's no freaking way. I don't care how compassionate or what you think. And probably half of this budget, easily, 50% of the Medi-Cal budget is fraud, and that's probably light.
Dollars to a proposed $222 billion in 2026. Their population, however, has not grown exponentially. However, their spending has.
1,000% increase. No more hospice patients than we had 4 years ago, yet the cost has doubled in 4 years. What is that, about a 22% per year inflation rate?
There has been a 1,000% increase in hospice care in the Los Angeles County. In fact, 1 out of every $10 of home health care in America is spent in Los Angeles. On top of that, their government-funded daycare programs are filled with violations. While they continue to give money to these fraudsters, it is estimated that the fraud in California could be in the hundreds of billions of dollars.
More than that. It is absolutely incredible. Beyond belief. $250 billion might even be liked.
Could be in the hundreds of billions of dollars. In this video, we'll be going face to face with these fraudsters, confronting them as they defraud the American taxpayer out of millions and billions of dollars as they live their lives in luxury, driving around luxurious cars that cost more than $100,000 that you actually paid for. Let's start first by going to these daycares filled with violations that still can.
So how many $100,000 cars are you driving? How many yachts do you own? How many mansions do you own? These people are ripping you off up the kazoo.
Continue to receive money from the government.
So this is the location of the daycare. It's in the middle of this shopping plaza. A lot of the buildings are closed down or boarded up, have been graffitied. And then you also have just a big dumpster right here with all this garbage. And then the daycare is right there. We're gonna go.
Isn't that lovely? Garbage and everything by your daycare center. Boarded up buildings. No kids. Where's Joey at? Who? Slam the door. Get the hell out of here. We'll have more on the Nick Shirley investigations. We'll have the James O'Keefe ones coming up. Man, to say we're in a heap of trouble probably going very light. Yes, it is. We have all kinds. The fraud investigations that have been uncovered are just absolutely insane. Or from the Nick Shirley video, here we go.
A lot of suspicious activity.
Oh, well, Nick
Here is
decided there.
Hayden Sarah Family Childcare. This is a daycare right here. Apparently, they have 14 children enrolled. Tell us a little bit more about this daycare right here. We're in the middle of the hills here in San Diego.
So, according to state records, when inspectors arrived here, there were 14 kids enrolled, but 0 present. And then this place was also cited for having missing children's records and also not having a facility roster.
It's kind of weird that there's this daycare in the middle of a neighborhood. Hello?
I was naked, okay?
No, you weren't.
I can sue you. I was like, I wasn't dressed up. I'm Muslim.
Either way, can we enroll a child into the daycare?
You don't know what's going on.
Well, it says there's 14 children enrolled here on the state of California.
I was naked. It says there's 14 kids here. Slam. Second one. We'll have more on this during the week. I want to get to James O'Keefe's part. He said he's going to release one practically, if not, every day of the week. So, this whole fraud, out of control, ridiculous, mind-numbing situation we drove ourselves into is absolutely incredulous. Here's the one that dropped to James O'Keefe, and this was almost, 30 minutes long. He said he's going to drop one every day. This has to do with the voter fraud and others that popped. He's got his guys on it.
God, we gonna give you $2. You can't need 14 signatures.
The petitioner Brenda Brown hands cash money to the homeless person, not only for signing the California ballot initiative, but also as payment for them to register to vote.
Now, because you haven't registered, I need to register you so I can get paid too. I'm paying you guys, I need to get paid. Come on.
That is a federal felony, and it didn't just happen once. It happened over and over and over again.
It happened over and over and over again. We saw the absolute. We saw the video by J.J. Smith that started this. We seen Minnesota, which started the child care, then hospice fraud. $1 trillion, $2 trillion, Musk said is fraud in the budget. He's probably lied in the federal budget. $250 billion in fraud. That's over 5 years. They're saying $50 billion lied. So got to be at least out of the $349 billion budget in California, $100 million easy. I said a third, $115 million is fraud. Out now.
We personally witnessed and covertly filmed this happening at least 28 times over the span of our investigation, and that is just in Los Angeles. Many of the homeless have zero understanding of what it is that they're actually signing.
But what is that petition for? You know the petition for?
I do not know.
The petitioners instruct the homeless to enter made-up addresses like Pinocchio Lane.
What do I put as my address?
Yeah, just put up. You live on Pinocchio.
Are they telegraphing this? Pinocchio Lane. Pinocchio Lane. Oh, sign Pinocchio Lane.
Oh, good.
And all of this occurring just outside the front doors of shelters and NGOs such as Weingart Center, which have received hundreds of millions of dollars in government money. One Weingart employee tells us when and where to find the illegal cash exchanges for signatures outside, and says the cash being given out is coming from a higher source.
Do you know if they provide the money that they're handing out?
Yeah,
the company
that's what they do. When they give the money out, they got to go back and tally up if they stealing the money or not, so they got to have a signature. Most of them be right across the street under that tree. You can check with them Monday through Friday.
While another Weingart employee advises the homeless on how to practice plausible deniability and ignorance of the law.
See, they say ignorance is no excuse for the law. But a lot of times I have to say I didn't know. I had no idea.
Oh, that. So they're supposedly undercover journalists. Oh, just tell them you didn't know. Oh, they're illegals. Oh, they're black. Oh, they're this. Oh, they're LGBTQ. Can't prosecute it, can't touch us because we'll call you racist. Hundreds of millions of dollars just to the Weingart?
That would be what he should say.
Yeah. The petitioners orchestrate an elaborate pyramid scheme of unregistered petition circulators.
If I were to hire you, you would be under me.
Yes.
I'm under my son, I'm under him, and you under me. So it's like a pyramid game, and really, I don't need you, you need me. I don't need you.
One of the petitioners threatens to attack one of our journalists.
Go down the street, bro, before we move you down the street. I'll knock you out looking right at me.
Bro, why are you trying to be like that, bro?
They won't knock your ass out. Bitch ass nigga, don't come over here again.
There's the quote. There's your guys. All you center left. All you ghettoers. Look at this. This is Black Lives Matter. They're gonna whip your ass, white boy. It's exactly what they're frickin' saying. Expose our fraud.
And an employee of the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority records not the fraud, but the people exposing it.
That you okay? Why are you telling me? Why are you filming us? I'm with the LAPD.
You know it's a crime to say you're with the police when you're not.
No, I'm not with the LAPD.
Well, that's what you just said 2 minutes ago. Why did you lie?
As the NGOs pretended to be the police.
So the NGOs are trying to back you up, claiming they're the cops. At least that's what O'Keefe's saying. How freaking corrupt is our freaking system? Oh, we're going to intimidate, we're going to do this, we're going to threaten, we're going to wear our Black Lives Matter shirts.
Police in order to intimidate us, I began to wonder whether we're still living in America. The Department of Justice has been sent these tapes of election fraud cash exchange for voter registration happening in broad daylight, and we have informed the Department of Justice there are more tapes coming. There will be a new tape dropping every day until someone is arrested or indicted. George Washington said the administration of justice is supposed to be the firmest pillar of government, but if democracy is for sale and there is no accountability as a result of this video, it doesn't matter who is elected. Our notion of freedom is all just an illusion.
So there you see it. That's just the first few minutes of a 30-minute tape. And O'Keefe says, well, there's going to be a tape released every day until arrests or indictments. Well, we're going to get a tape a day till we're all looking at the roots of the grass and James O'Keefe himself. Because we're not seeing them.
The billionaires more, or will they just leave the state?
We should tax them.
To tax them.
tax the billionaires.
How much fraud is there in the state of California? Order of magnitude.
I have millions, hundreds of millions, I can imagine.
So should we tax the billionaires or get rid of the fraud?
Both.
The billionaires say they're going to leave the state.
But it's impossible to stop fraud.
It's impossible. And he may be right. Maybe we just got to crash the whole freaking system before it all goes down in flames. Newsom's putting up posts. B.S. Rob Bonner, the Attorney General. Oh, we're going to look into this. It's absolutely bleeping incredible. More from this dude.
Make over $1,000 a day.
That's a lot of money. Not only did we find these petitions being pushed on protesters outside City Hall, but we also found them being promoted to the homeless in the depths of Skid Row. So my team and I dressed up as homeless people and went undercover.
So now you see some of the they get you out there to the protests. Everybody, we pay them. RNG, our money pays these supposed. They're not non-government organizations. They're arm of the government. We're paying them. Federal funds, which has gotten shut off, but you're still got Newsom and state funds and local funds priming the pump of these groups, and then they get that why they got you out there to rally. They could give a crap less about the immigrants or ICE. They're making hundreds of millions of dollars. Guy on the street getting signatures is making 1,000 per day. What do you think the bigwigs are making? In supposed nonprofits or non-government organizations. This stuff is just absolutely plain balderdash ridiculous.
Before heading out there, I had to get in character.
The petition $2, I'm saying, now we're gonna give you $2. Oh, you can't need 14 signatures. Oh, what is it for? Save the parks, save the streets, save basically everything to help save the kids.
Save the park, save the streets, save the kids. Just $2 per signature. Well, they're getting ripped off. They're ripping off the homeless. Hell, they're paying 5 to 7 up in San Fran. This whole lie. Remember I told you every time they want to tax or that, it's good. The cops are not going to come. You dial 911. Your house is on fire. It's going to burn down because the fire department ain't going to show up. Your schools are going to close. Your parks are going to close. Everything. This, that. Oh, you got to give us more money. And we have, by the boatloads. And they're busting our ass. Oh, we know we're breaking the law. That's how I read that one lady from Weingard. But just tell them you didn't know. I don't know. Because we're going to say racist, sexist, or anything. We're just going to throw BS up in the air so we can keep getting away with it. Mind you, I've only ran for a couple minutes. Probably about 5 minutes, with just an hour and a half worth of videotape Shirley and O'Keefe have released today and yesterday. And in O'Keefe's case, he said he's releasing a tape a day till arrests or indictments come down. Well, he's going to be releasing more videotape than I think we even have. Interesting turn of events. Joe Kent Deputy Director of Department of Intelligence resigned, saying the Iraq War there was no imminent threat. Tulsi Gabbard put out a statement saying, hey, it's the president's call. He made it. A lot of people were saying she's going to resign. There's her statement. They provided the intelligence. The president makes the decision.
Got about 30 seconds, Roy. I noticed your video is out.
My video's out.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any video.
Oh, nice. Everybody else seems to be working. At least we got the audio working.
Yeah, that's working.
Okay. It's been a heck of a roll here, but we'll figure it out. I don't know why, but there's some squirrely stuff.
Here we go, 10 seconds.
You can let him know.
Switch.com.
IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or affiliates.
There's that funky slide guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday, 5:30 in the Mighty Met 1490 AM. Broadcasting all over the Inland Empire in the former Metro AM band. Join our vast video audience in the Evil Uppy Network YouTube. Check us out, subscribe. Type in IE Newswire on that or Roy Blecker. You'll see my nice, smiling, shining face. Lots of stuff rocking and rolling. 7 years ago today, our lead story, Rowdy Bush, won his 200th win combined Cup. O'Reilly and Truck Series 7 years ago at Auto Club Speedway. They're done. Of course, we know that track's been torn down. Ran a couple races after that. Just kind of goes to show the state of affairs we're all in some of this stuff. We covered the two tapes that dropped yesterday and today, Nick Shirley and James O'Keefe on the fraud, hospice fraud, daycare fraud, voter fraud. Senate Thune's finally taking up the Save America Act to straighten out the voting. Quit screwing around, Thune, and get the thing done. You've been screwing with this for, 6 or 7 months? It's passed the House. We're getting close to the 26 elections. Get it done. Quit excusing this or delaying that. You're trying to play run out the clock, and we know it. Joe Kent, the Deputy Director of Department of Intelligence, resigned, saying there was no imminent threat of Iran. Tulsi Gabbard, the head of Director Intelligence, said, hey, we gave Trump the intelligence we had. He made the decision. He's president. So on and on and on, I think we go. We're going to catch into the oil and gas crisis. Trump is finally opening up, drill baby drill, opening up California's vast, some estimates, largest oil reserves in the world. We have all different kinds of oil. We have heavy crude, which you use asphalt products. They can make gas and diesel. It's a little harder to refine. We have sweet crude, like off the Santa Barbara coast, which is very easily, it's like Saudi Arabia crude. You can make gas and diesel very easily from that. We have it all. We have the most productive farmland. We have practically every mineral known to man. We have been importing not only oil, now we're importing refined gas products because Newsom's shutting down the pipelines. You see from the chart, 17% of our imported oil comes from Iraq that we're using, that we're refining here. Most of this fuel that we're buying from overseas is coming from, a lot of it, from foreign sources in the Gulf and Venezuela, which again is very heavy crude like Bakersfield, which pollutes a lot to refine it. So all this, we're saving the environment. They are making the environment worse if what they're all claiming is we're all going to die of diesel smoke. Of course, Gavin Newsom did that. The Iraq-Iran war has nothing to do with California having $1.81 more than the national average and climbing. Ashley Zavala had the new head of the oil and gas rep industry on her great show, California Politics 360. Let's hear what she has to say. Here we go.
California Air Resources Board Lauren Sanchez says there's time to figure this out, and the proposal is not a done deal. Here's part of my conversation with the chair. On reliability and affordability, the oil industry has said this proposal essentially incentivizes companies to import even more fuel from other countries. I mean, something the state is already heavily relying on now. I mean, is that not concerning to you, given the war in Iran and the blocking of the Strait of Hormuz at this point?
Yeah, I again would emphasize that the staff proposal is really focused on supporting businesses here in California. That's why we didn't change that industrial allocation, and we've maintained a number of the cost containment measures in the program design. Actually, I should point out, as the legislature was having the conversation about how to extend this program last year, it was supported by the industry, the business industry here in California, and by labor voices in California, environmental organizations in California. This program has a 15-year track record of success. It is one of our most cost-effective climate policies. And as we think about the benefits that it has generated for the state, I mean, over $34 billion in investments up and down the state, affordable housing, accessible transit, forest management and fire prevention, safe and affordable drinking water. I mean, these investments have been transformative for communities. You layer on top of that the program has generated $15 billion in utility bill rebates. And yes, gas prices are a top concern for Californians, as are utility bills. So the fact that this program is helping on energy affordability is also very paramount. All of that said, we understand we are getting feedback that the staff proposal does not go far enough to really ensure that we are supporting those California businesses. We look forward to the data and the justification on that issue.
But I guess to clarify, if the war in Iran persists, will that change the course of this proposal?
The war in Iran and, the latest federal lawsuits attacking California, I mean, there are a number of global events, federal events that we are taking into consideration as a part of this process and this regulation that is coming to the Air Board. Again, it's not coming to the board until the end of May, so we've built in time for some of these really important conversations and analysis to continue.
Scribe is how 4 million people turn processes into step-by-step guides. The hardest part of any job, I don't care where you work, is answering the same questions over.
But just overall, broadly on this, I mean, as the leader of the person, of the group that's tasked with cleaning California's air, meeting the environmental goals, I mean, what good are these goals if the state is so heavily relying on fuel that's produced in other countries and then put onto ships to pollute the air, not necessarily in our state, but outside of it?
Yeah, it's something that, we give a lot of thought to through both the Cap and Invest program and the low carbon fuel standard. And it's why, again, that legislative direction to minimize leakage is really important to the work CARB does. More broadly, making sure that the benefits of our regulations and our policies and our programs outweigh any costs. But Ashley, as you pointed out, tasked with cleaning the air, 18 million Californians still breathe unhealthy air every year. If you look at the weather forecast for next week, you're forecast to hit 90 degrees in Sacramento for the first time in March. That is unprecedented. We know that the legislature, over bipartisan administrations, has tasked the Air Board with moving forward and striking the right balance between costs and benefits and supporting California businesses going forward.
You mentioned, and you've been mentioning, that your job, you've just taken from the legislature. Essentially, you were directed by state lawmakers to carry out this rulemaking process when it comes to cap and invest. Several Democratic lawmakers who voted for that, who voted to direct you to do this work, are now asking you to go back to the drawing board, essentially, on this proposal when it comes to energy. What's your reaction to that?
I take that feedback with deep humility and deep gratitude. You know, I'm grateful that the legislature and their engagement doesn't stop at just passing the bill and the governor signing it, but rather throughout the implementation process and the regulatory process that they're staying engaged. You know, we want to make sure that ultimately the proposal that comes to the board is responsive to legislative direction and really how they intended the program to work. So, you know, I've seen that letter. I've received a number of other letters on other sets of issues. And we're, you know, the whole team is looking at that feedback and, again, thinking about how the proposal moves forward.
Chair Sanchez talks more about the concerns raised by the state's remaining oil refiners, the conversations
So the oil refiners are basically saying, you're screwed. Maybe the Trump administration, as we've seen, will come and save us. But what in fraud could all the stuff myself and many others have been saying? This is on purpose. They are going to ruin your life. That's what their goal is. Their goal is to make you so uncomfortable that you will say anything to make it stop. The part that Trump released is just a small part of the oil to get the pipelines running back again. But we're in deep Bandini across the board. I wish Trump would be back in here paying more attention to this than what's going on in other countries. And passing the SAVE Act and getting back to a MAGA agenda. The other part of that, the teachers are crying poor mouth. Oh, we're starved to death. This absolutely blows my mind. Teachers are making as a total compensation twice as much as teachers were 50 years ago, with less than half the results. They're making $140,000 per year average compensation package. For 75% of the work of the average Californian, they only work 165 days a year. The average Californian works 220 days per year. So if you prorate that out, they're almost at $200K if they were working a full year. They're up there inside. They're redressing the Sacramento situation. They've done the same thing. They're almost insolvent. They're almost running out of money. Sound familiar? Desert Sands, Moreno Valley. Oakland was out of receivership after being in 20 years. 6 months, they're going to be back in. Oh, we're starving to death, and we're not planning this, and we can't, no.
Pay and working conditions. Last year, the California Teachers Association launched the We Can't Wait campaign. Now, teachers all at the same time are striking to push the priorities of this campaign to their local school districts with contracts set to expire. I spoke with the president of the powerful California Teachers Association. Here's part of our conversation. So you said earlier that some districts are hoarding money, but many of these school districts are limited with their budgets, and even more so now with cities across the state and the state itself having these massive budget deficits. I mean, is CTA ignoring that?
I'm not sure what you city budgets don't impact school budgets. And I guess so you're asking me, so when we do analysis of, for example, the districts in your area, Twin Rivers, when we can compare Twin Rivers to the 40 other districts that have a similar size district with similar students, has more money squirreled away than any other district in the state.
This is Goldberg is a piece of trash, head of the CTAs. And any of you that want to come in here and discuss it, or Goldberg himself, please. They tried this at the crime syndicate. Oh, you got all these reserves. Yeah. Therefore, all these bonds, measure M, measure U, measure W, number X, Y, Z, A, B, C, that you're sticking us because you assholes, and this comes from school district employees across multiple school districts. It's been told, do not do maintenance, do not do proper maintenance, patch it. We'll get a bond to cover it when it all blows up, and we'll jack up our salaries. And now they've run that course. And now school districts are going to go bankrupt in California, up the kazoo, the rest of this decade. Probably 80% of them. It's because of lying pieces of ish like this, or stupidity, or whatever he wants to claim. Well, I don't know what you're talking about. They have a lot of money. Yeah, you're getting 27 grand per student, a-hole. 27,000, 3 times more than you were 12 years ago, and you're producing worse results on student achievement. So shut the hell up. Your performance has not justified any of the pay raises you got. In fact, you shouldn't have no pay raises. Most of you teachers should be fired. And you would be if you were in the private sector. You understand in economics, but you con the people like this. The only way you can survive on a raise is if you increase the productivity, which means student achievement must be going up. So the next students are going to have a better opportunity, bring in more income, not making them stupider like you and your ilk have done. Prove me wrong, any of you.
So that's the facts. Natomas, also, these are different than other parts of the states. These districts actually have increasing enrollment where they get more and more money per student. There's no reason for...
California school enrollment has been going downhill for over a decade. Well, yeah, there might be a school district or two that's going to increasing. LA's almost half of what it was 10 years ago. We're down about 20%, 10 or 20%, and I think 20% in the crime syndicate and out here in most Inland Empire schools. This guy's full of crap. We're spending more money per student on less students and getting worse results. And we want more money after we're making 200 grand per year compensation if you prorated it out for the full year. Here's Ashley Zavala with more pushback. Here we go.
What it has wanted, and now it's in a situation where they're really strapped for cash because they have given into CTA's demands in the past. I mean, local school districts are not revenue generators. I mean, why flex this political muscle with this campaign against these school districts that are struggling and relying on public funds?
Ashley's 1,000% right. Biggest by far contributor in the last 10 years, 20 years, to political candidates is the California Teachers Association. By far, without question, hundreds of millions of dollars. What, they gave 10 million or 20 million to Gavin Newsom just on the recall? To bail his butt out? Let's hear the answer from this buffoon, Goldberg, head of the California CTA.
Yeah, again, I do want to make the distinction. They're not saying no to CTA about anything. These are local unions and local members and local educators who are making these We support each one of them in these struggles, but this is not a flex of political muscle. This is a flex of worker power and worker.
That is a lie. It's a flex of political muscle because you're the biggest political contributor to political candidates, almost 99% Democrat in California. Asshole. So, we're workers' rights. And he is right. It's about worker rights. California Teachers Association, Moreno Valley Educators Association, their locals or whatever else, do not give a crap about your kids. They are not about education. The only thing that they are is to represent their members to get more money for less works and higher benefits. And defend them from getting fired when they should be. Or when they cost us $134 million in judgments over abusing kids sexually, and on it goes. So don't cry, poor mouth, or this, or we're for the kids. You're for putting more money in your pocket at the expense of us, and you don't give a crap about the kids because their education is S.
There's pent-up frustration about not being able to survive, not being able to stay in the district. Because you break up Sac City, I've talked to every strike line I'm on. Yesterday, you have many people from Sac City who used to work in Natomas and Twin Rivers who are coming back to support their colleagues and saying, I'm sorry to have left you guys in your district to gone to Sac City for the healthcare benefits. What's happening is these districts that are on strike are fighting for the same thing that.
That's because they went to the other districts who got incentives and now they're going broke and they're trying to get back over here. Now they're running like chickens with their heads cut off.
Other districts are around them and saying, why do we deserve less here than anywhere else?
Goldberg weighs in when I
They got to take some. They got to take 2 and 3 and 4 jobs. They only work 9 months out of the year. Who? Name the other profession that only works 9 months out of the year and gets paid a compensation package of about, if you prorate that out, $200,000 a year or $145,000 for working 9 months. We're starving to death and they're mean. They just want more money out of your pocket. They don't give a crap about you. They do not give a crap about the kids. I mean, I'm sure there's some. Overall, anybody that would be associated with the extreme failure in the last 30 years of California schools, starting with 1998 and Prop 98 pushed by the schools, then Prop 111 that they pushed with Garamendi to get rid of the GAN spending caps because they wanted more money. And it's all for the kids. And just like the petitioner said to threatening, they're going to, it's for the kids. They're going to do this and they're going to provide that. Shut the holy bleep up. Isn't happening. Never has, never will. It's beyond. It's beyond any comprehensive understanding of human behavior. SEIU union, most of the government employees are not teachers, cops, or firefighters. Back the spy, Swalwell, for governor. California Teachers Association hasn't endorsed yet, but Lorena Gonzalez Fletcher, remember, she was head of the assembly, head racist, now is the head of the California Labor Federation, which is a conglomerate of all or most of the unions. This is unprecedented. Nobody can ever come up with this. The California Labor has just made an endorsement in the governor's race just now. This was yesterday. We have a spoil of riches when it comes to candidates who have a long history with our individual unions. Tom Steyer, Eric Swalwell, Antonio Villaraigosa, and Katie Porter all earned our endorsement. They endorsed 4 of the icky 8. I'm telling you, it couldn't work out any better. I couldn't have scripted when I came up with top 2 to win in top 2 in June to win, get an R elected. I could not have drawn this up any better. They endorsed 4. You think they're going to get out? They're all going to say, well, hey, I got the labor's behind me, everybody's going to go, what the hell? That's just going to split their vote up. Like I said, this is working out perfect. I could not have drawn this up any better. In fact, I was thinking about that. I was thinking, you know, what else could I have come up with so far today? Perfect amount of 8 Democratic candidates, no superstar, and their constituencies are endorsing all over the place spastically. They're vote splitting perfectly. Steve and Chad are coming out 1-2 on most every poll or survey. Where the Republicans are splitting their vote pretty even too. And anybody, if you are a Steve and Chad supporter, again, invoke the 11th commandment of Ronald Reagan. Thou shalt not criticize another Republican. Don't be getting into this. We got to get, and, you know, and if you're a Steve and Chad guy, that's fine. And you're voting for them, that's fine. Those of you that want to win, we'll figure out who we need to support getting to the end so we can split that vote evenly. And then hold the icky 8 down below. Those two are in the top 2. Voila, your choice is going to be Steve Hilton or Chad Bianco. And from that point, I say, hey, let the best man win. Let's go for it. You know, campaign away. But it's guaranteed come November, there's going to be a center-right freedom and liberty type walking in the governor's mansion, which will absolutely blow people's minds. That'll do it for today. As we usually say at this time, mandatory. Back here in 23 Hours Why, you're the best darn show in the whole wide world. Until then, see ya.
The preceding was a paid program.
All right, Roy. Well, at least the audio didn't crap out on us.
Yeah, I don't know why. I'm looking at it. It's got a blank on the video, but I couldn't figure out how to turn it back on again. So it shouldn't be that big a deal. I should have it working tomorrow.
All right. Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed, I guess.
Just if you can, because I got to go to the council, but put in the 11 KMET deal for Jesse that we need to run a test tomorrow.
All right. I will text him.
You got it.
All right. Bye now.